The PlayStation 4 is looking to end this generation in a big way, and that really comes in the form of Quarter 2, and that's what I want to highlight in today's video, specifically 6 incredible PlayStation 4 exclusives that are coming in Quarter 2 2020. I really feel like this is going to be the last push of major PS4 exclusives before everybody starts getting ready for the PS5. And if you guys are unaware, Quarter 2 does cover April, May, and June, so yes, March is being left out of it, so no Neo 2 on this list, no Persona 5 Royal, no other games that are coming in March. There's been a lot of good PS5 exclusives already, a lot of good ones coming in March. However, this is time to highlight the ones in April, May, and June. We've got a total of 6 games to go over, which is pretty notable. If you can push out 2 marquee exclusives a month, I think that's a pretty good rate, especially at this point late in the generation. And even if it's not filled with quantity, I would say in terms of a quality level, man, the PS5 is getting some ridiculous exclusives in the next few months. So without further ado, let's get right into it, and let's start off with one that I am incredibly excited for, but I at this point can't even say it's my most anticipated because there's so much competition. That is the follow-up to arguably the greatest PlayStation 3 game of all time in The Last of Us. The Last of Us Part 2 will be available on May 29th. Yes, The Last of Us Part 2 is finally almost here. A lot of build-up heading into the release of this game, originally scheduled to release in February, saw an unfortunate delay. But hey, it's been close to 7 years since the release of The Last of Us Part 1. I think a few more months isn't gonna kill anyone. 5 years after their dangerous journey across the post-pandemic United States, Ellie and Joel have settled down in Jackson, Wyoming. Living amongst a thriving community of survivors has allowed them peace and stability. Despite the constant threat of the infected and other more desperate survivors, when a violent event disrupts that peace, Ellie embarks on a relentless journey to carry out justice and find closure. As she hunts those responsible one by one, she is confronted with the devastating physical and emotional repercussions of her actions. The Last of Us Part 2 is a game that you can pretty much guarantee that it's going to be an incredible game. It just really comes down to how incredible is it going to be. There are few studios at the level of Naughty Dog when they release a game, it's going to be something of a masterclass. Going back to even the first Uncharted, I would say is really good, but really with Uncharted 2, that is when I think Naughty Dog came together and they raised their game a level higher than they were already at, and they were already at a high level with Jak and Daxter and Uncharted 1, but then Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, The Last of Us, Uncharted 4, these games are phenomenal games and elite, a masterclass in game development and narrative development and storytelling. It is just so strong, and presentation as well. The sound score, the visuals, all of those elements are at an incredibly high level in a Naughty Dog title, and I expect exactly the same with The Last of Us Part 2, maybe even at a heightened level, as this could be Naughty Dog's magnum opus this far as it's out May 29th. And just like Last of Us 1 rounded out the PlayStation 3 life cycle, Last of Us Part 2, you can kind of look at it as a pseudo closure to the PlayStation 4, although there's other major games coming out after The Last of Us Part 2, but nonetheless, this is out May 29th. Alright, next up, this might be the real closure to the PlayStation 4 exclusive lineup, Ghost of Tsushima. It has recently been confirmed that it will be coming June 26, 2020. Man, oh man, Sucker Punch, it has been too long since you guys have released a game on the PlayStation 4. Sucker Punch, another incredibly talented studio. You guys all know about Naughty Dog. You know how elite they are. Sucker Punch, in my opinion, doesn't get the credit that they deserve for how great their games are. Go back and play Sly Cooper. Fantastic games. Infamous 1, fantastic game. Infamous 2, fantastic game. I will concede the fact that maybe Infamous Second Son wasn't at as high of a level as their previous games. However, it was still a very good game, and I'm still of the mindset that that game was a little bit rushed out, but nonetheless, now they're putting all of their emphasis in a brand new IP in Ghost of Tsushima, and they've been working on this game for many, many years. Again, Infamous Second Son came out all the way back in 2014. Yes, you can look at The Last of Us and be like, Last of Us 1 to 2, that's 7 years. However, Naughty Dog obviously put out Uncharted 4 in the midst of that. Ghost of Tsushima has been in full-on development, and I can understand why it has taken so long, because this is a colossal open-world game set in the late 13th century. The Mongol Empire has laid waste to entire nations along with their campaign to conquer the East. Tsushima Island is all that stands between mainland Japan and a massive Mongol invasion fleet led by a ruthless and cunning general. As the island burns in the wake of the first wave of the Mongol assault, it's up to you as samurai warrior Jin Sakai, who stands as one of the last surviving members of his Phoenix clan, he is resolved to do whatever it takes at any cost to protect his people and reclaim his home. He must set aside the traditions that have shaped him as a warrior to forge a new path, the path of the ghosts, and wage an unconventional war for the freedom of Tsushima. This game, from a visual standpoint, looks to be one of the best looking games that we've seen in video games, period. The narrative looks incredibly strong. It seems like Jin Sakai is an incredibly well fleshed out character, and if you know about Sucker Punch, you know that low-key, they are incredible storytellers. Infamous 1 had a fantastic story, and one of the best stories I saw out of a PlayStation 3 game. Infamous 2, same thing. Second Son, not quite as strong, but still very good, and Sly Cooper has always had that quirky and engaging storytelling, and with Ghost of Tsushima, it's obvious they're putting a lot of emphasis in a lot of the minute details, and they traveled across the various locales so they could get the regions of Ghost of Tsushima right, and they've put a lot of attention to detail. Ghost of Tsushima will finally be out, PS4 exclusive, June 26th. We can't wait for this one. Next up, here's a game that's been a long time coming. We've been wanting it for close to 15 years, and that is the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yes, going back to E3 of 2005, people have been clamoring for a Final Fantasy VII Remake. When Square Enix thought it would be such a great idea to show off a tech demo of Final Fantasy VII, hypothetically running on the PlayStation 3, that's where it got everybody really talking, and we've been wanting it ever since. Square Enix always shot us down, but then E3 of 2015 rolled around 10 years after the fact, and we got the revelation of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and now it's finally coming to the PS4. Yes, it's going to be an episodic release, but it looks like Square Enix is going to flesh out Final Fantasy VII as a whole, and there's going to be so much additional content to the game, and so many of the characters are going to have more depth to them, that I am all for this. A spectacular reimagining of one of the most visionary games ever, Final Fantasy VII Remake rebuilds and expands the legendary RPG for today. The world has fallen under the control of the Shinra Electric Power Company, a shadowy corporation controlling the planet's very life force as Mako Energy. In the sprawling city of Midgar, an anti-Shinra organization calling themselves Avalanche have stepped up their resistance. Cloud Strife, a former member of Shinra's elite soldier unit, now turned mercenary, lends his aid to the group, unaware of the epic consequences that await him. A spectacular reimagining of one of the most visionary games ever. The first game in this project will be set in the electric city of Midgar and presents a fully standalone gaming experience. So you get the entirety of the Midgar experience out of this one, but do imagine a completely more fleshed out experience. Just playing the demo, hearing all of the previews, this game is building up to be one of the biggest game releases of this generation. This could be the biggest game of the year because it's building off one of the most iconic games that was ever released. Final Fantasy VII is a story within a story, and it was a colossal release back in 1997 that has spawned into so much fan interest. So many people have played it throughout the years, and it's kind of an icon, so to speak. And Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1 will finally be out on April 10th. If you have yet to play the demo, do yourself a favor, go play that demo because it sets the tone perfectly for what to expect out of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I just hope after the release of this game, can we please get these games a little bit more regularly? Would it kill 2020 for the first game, 2022 for the second game? Let's wrap it up by 2024 so I can play it before I'm dead. And sometimes, you know, I'm not big on waiting 5 to 7 years for these Square Enix games. If you guys can cycle through these games a little bit quicker, yes, I get it. They are massive undertakings, but now that they have the foundation in place, hopefully it doesn't take, you know, 5 years like it did for the FF7 Remake from announcement to release. Let's just hope on that. Alright, next up, I do want to get a VR game in here. Marvel's Iron Man is making the transition to VR with Marvel's Iron Man VR. Don the PlayStation VR headset to suit up as the armored adventure in an original Iron Man adventure. Tony Stark has retired from making weapons and instead creates technology used to battle evil as Iron Man. After several years as a world-famous superhero, Tony is attacked by the mysterious Ghost, a hacker and anti-corporate activist who repurposes old Stark Industries weapons. In her effort to topple his empire, Ghost attacks Stark's corporate locations around the world, leading to ever-escalating stakes and a final showdown to round things out. Using 2 PlayStation Move motion controllers, fire up Iron Man's repulsor jets and blast into the skies with an arsenal of iconic Iron Man gear at your fingertips. I know it's PlayStation VR exclusive, and yes, it'd be great for everyone if this was playable on base PlayStation 4. However, they gotta sell some PlayStation VR units. Sony for so long has gotten flack for not supporting their own peripheral releases. You're talking about PlayStation Vita, PSP, PlayStation Move back on the PlayStation 3. Well, now they have VR headset on PS4, and they've actually been releasing a lot of great games for it. Maybe it's time for you to bite the bullet and pick it up for yourself, because there's a lot of high-quality games on it, and Marvel's Iron Man VR is looking to add to the fray. Next up, we've got a really cool multiplayer title in Predator Hunting Grounds: Hunt or Be Hunted by the Predator, in a new multiplayer shooter being published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Predator Hunting Grounds is an immersive asymmetrical shooter in remote areas. The Predator stalks the most challenging prey, play as a member of an elite fire team, and complete preliminary operations before the Predator finds you, or play as the Predator to hunt the most worthy prey, choosing from your vast array of deadly alien tech to collect your trophies one by one. So obviously we've seen this gameplay style before, however, with Predator Hunting Grounds it does have a different layer to it. The Predator's mission is clear: the hunt. Study the warriors in the jungle and choose the best of the best to engage, dispatch your targets, and collect trophies to display as tokens of each hunt. Do not let your prey escape. Failure is not an option here. The game will be having a free trial weekend from March 27th until March 29th, so you can check that out if you're not completely sure on whether or not you want to pick up the game come its official release date of April 24th. And lastly, we have one final JRPG that is coming. Yes, it's not as big as a Final Fantasy VII Remake or the upcoming Persona 5 Royal, but Sakura Wars looks to offer a lot of fun as well and a lot of enjoyment. Sakura Wars is a franchise that's been around for quite a while, never made much of an impact over here in the States. It only saw one game release, and that one wasn't that well received commercially. Critically, it was pretty well received, but now we've got a brand new title coming from Sega. The stage is set in a steampunk version of 1940s Imperial Tokyo. Only a short while ago, a cataclysmic event destroyed the Imperial Combat Revue of Tokyo, the capital's global defense force stationed at the Imperial Theater, now home to the Flower Division, an inept rookie squad who also strives to impart hope on the citizenry. With their theatrical talents, the theater has fallen on hard times and risk closure. Now, this is a game where character relationship building is at a forefront, a lot of dialogue, but that dialogue has direct impact into the gameplay as well, so that does add another layer to what to expect out of the game. If you're a fan of quirky JRPGs, you'll enjoy Sakura Wars. Is it the first JRPG you should play to get into the genre? Absolutely not, but it should be a good one as it drops April 28th. So that's gonna conclude this video. Again, it's pretty atypical to see a console go out with this much of a bang. In just one quarter, you're getting Ghost of Tsushima, The Last of Us Part 2, and the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Round that out with Marvel's Ironman VR, Predator Hunting Grounds, and Sakura Wars. You're talking about a stacked lineup of releases for the PlayStation 4, and yeah, maybe there will be a couple more exclusives in the rest of the year and in the rest of the PlayStation 4's life, but as we move closer and closer to the PlayStation 5, the PlayStation 4, you would have to imagine is going to be phased out a little bit outside of cross-generational releases, but man, it is going out in a terrific way with some of the most compelling game releases that we've seen this entire generation. And in the case of Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, those two games are being released just within 4 weeks from one another. I don't think that's ever happened in the PlayStation 4's life, where we had two major exclusives being released within a 4-week span. Yes, we've seen that before with games like, Persona 5 Royal is coming out at the end of the month, and then Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming out in early April. Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us Part 2 are at another level than a Persona 5 Royal. I know a lot of you guys will probably crucify me for saying that, but let's look at sales numbers, and then you can tell me as far as that goes. And do keep in mind, both of these are first-party Sony-developed games. They're being brought out by Sony themselves, and they're being brought out so quickly from one another. That alone makes it pretty remarkable what we're seeing out of this quarter. But that's going to conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.